And we're live.
Welcome to Main Title News with Junaid and Mustafa. Today I have a special report about the Spanish-American War, the causes and the effects.
I'm Junaid.
Spain-Cuba's fighting disrupted the U.S. trade with Cuba. This made the U.S. concerned, so they got involved in the war.
People became upset when the papers described Spain's brutality, which was yellow journalism.
After the USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor, it sank and killed 260 sailors. The U.S. got upset and blamed Spain, even though the cause was unknown. This was a call to arms for the Americans.
President McKinley signed a congressional resolution demanding Cuba's independence and withdrawal of Spanish forces. He gave Spain 3 days and they refused, starting the Spanish-American War.
Breaking news!
This just in, Spain declares a truce with the U.S.
We'll take it over to Philadelphia. They have more coverage on this.
The U.S. demanded that Spain give up Puerto Rico, the island of Guam, and the Philippines.
Spain had no choice but to agree to this, and this peace treaty was signed in Paris.
In December of 1898, President McKinley decided the Philippines should become an American colony. Puerto Rico became an American territory and set up a government and appointed the top officials.
After the U.S. reluctantly gave Cuba its independence, Cuba had to add the Platt Amendment to its constitution, allowing the U.S. to intervene in Cuban affairs anytime there was a threat to life, property, and individual liberty. They also had to allow a U.S. naval base to be added to Guantanamo Bay.
The Anti-Imperialist League. U.S. treatment of Spain's former colonies after the Spanish-American War was disappointed. It disappointed many people in the United States. Several well-known Americans, including Carnegie, Jane Addams, and writer Mark Twain, joined with others to form the Anti-Imperialist League. Members believed that the U.S. should not deny other people the right to govern themselves. They believed America should not take over countries like Puerto Rico, the Philippines, or Guam.
And here is an organizer summing up what we have covered on today's episode of Main Title News. Spanish and Cuban fighting disrupted trade with Cuba, thus involving the U.S. in the conflict. Remember the Maine became a call to arms after the Americans blamed Spain for the explosion and sinking of the USS Maine, killing over 200 sailors. And people became upset when the papers described Spanish brutality, which is often exaggerated through yellow journalism. Part 2 of today's organizer summing up what we have covered on today's episode, effects of Spanish-American War. The U.S. demanded that Spain give up its territories, including Puerto Rico, the island of Guam, and the Philippines. Spain had no choice but to agree to this. Puerto Rico became an American territory. President McKinley decided that the Philippines should be an American colony, and although U.S. was reluctant to give Cuba complete independence, Cuba had to add the Platt Amendment and to its constitution, giving U.S. the right to intervene in Cuban affairs. And they also had to allow the U.S. naval base to be added to a bay on Cuba. Thank you for joining us today on Main Title News. We hope to see you next week.